Alrighty, so let's get started. Again, if it's not for you, you get bored, I don't tell funny jokes or something like that, feel free to leave. My name's Liam Dempsey, and just to give you guys a little bit of background on the presentation for today, this is a webinar that I gave, I think, last month via a nonprofit called Tech Impact, and they asked me to do some talks on their behalf about WordPress for their communities. And so what you're going to see in the slides today is information around nonprofits. But at some level, nonprofits are also businesses, right? They have to make money, they have to pay bills, and their way of making money is through donations and grants and the like, and businesses sell products and services. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about, you'll see in the slides, is geared towards nonprofits, but the case for using WordPress for a business is exactly the same. So if you'll bear with me and be a little bit flexible in your thinking, I think we'll be all right. How are you?
All right.
Hope you're not looking for content architecture. So this is just a slide about the intended audience, but a little bit about myself. I've got a little consultancy called LB Design. I started the company when I was living in the UK. Now I'm back in the US. We're a very small company. There's just two of us. And we build websites and do online marketing, write a lot of blogs for businesses and nonprofits in the US, in the UK, and a little bit in Central Africa. And yes, I probably have built hundreds. I don't know how many hundreds, but a lot of websites. So what we're going to start with is a WordPress theme and just talk a little bit about what that is. Does anybody not know what a theme is? Everybody knows what they are. Great. So one of the things that people don't always get with a theme, not content architecture. Unfortunately, she fell ill. This is WordPress, the business case behind it. You're welcome. Sorry, I feel like I should let people know that before they come in and sit down, so apologies for that. Yeah, that probably is not a bad idea. Do you have a pen? Got one in my bag. So the one thing that I really want people to understand with respect to themes is that they really do mix functionality with design. And when you're looking to get a theme or have a theme built for you for your business, you really need to worry about both. And not just, well, that About Us page looks really nice, but you have to envision it like, how am I going to get the content onto that? And as you start to use WordPress, you'll see that different themes are made differently, and some really have been well built, very thoroughly put together so that WordPress can really just act as a content management system. So maybe thinking about a staff profile page, there'll be a field on the admin side for name and job title and maybe office location and phone number. And maybe there's another theme that doesn't have that, and you just have to put it into the content section. Or maybe you have to use shortcodes to affect the structure that you want. Does everybody know what shortcodes are? Does anybody not know? Okay, so shortcodes are a very simple way of adding a little bit of easy to remember code to the content section of your website that calls more advanced functionality and structure to that. So you might have a general theme page layout that is just a single column, and with the use of shortcodes, you can turn your single column into 2 columns or into 3 columns, or you can have maybe just an FAQ list of questions, and you click on the question and then the answer pops down and back up with a little bit of JavaScript. Those are often done with shortcodes. But you can build a theme that does that, or you can rely on shortcodes. And what I'm trying to get at with this particular slide here is that when you're looking to purchase or buy either directly a theme online or have somebody build one, you really need to make sure that you understand what you're buying and that the functionality is what you think it is on the back end. I know I talked about the 3 different kinds of themes. Sorry. Oh, I jumped ahead, way ahead. Sorry. Does anyone get a little lost the first time they use a mouse on a different computer? You're not quite sure how it works. I really jumped themes. I'm sorry. Let me spin this. Sorry, guys. I skipped over what we were going to cover. Let me just go through that briefly. I apologize. So rather than just read this to you, what we'll talk about is state of WordPress in 2015. We'll talk about WordPress as a content management system and some tips on approaching WordPress projects. Sorry, I got myself a little screwed up there. I apologize for that. On the upside, we'll definitely not be talking code today. We won't have time to get into what's the right design or the right approach for your organization or your business. There's just too many people here, but I'm happy to chat about that later. And we won't talk about good designs for any single charity or business or individual, just not have time for that. So let's get started. So this is just briefly the idea around online marketing and just a little bit of visual that I think helps give us some context of where our WordPress site is going to sit. Because what the benefit of making our own website the hub of our online marketing efforts is really that we have the most level of control. And when Facebook drops this functionality, they don't call us up and say, hey, Liam, I'm thinking about dropping this. Are you cool with that? They just do it. And the benefit of having your own website is you control exactly what you want it to do. And obviously there's budget considerations. You might want it to do something and not have the financial resources to make it do that. But any money you do put into it, you get to keep, and you get to make decisions about how to do that. And so what this illustration then reflects is the way that we interact with YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, and we might put some content onto YouTube, a video, but we're certainly also going to pull it back into our own website and a blog post or on the About page. We might share some links to it via Twitter or LinkedIn. So it's just kind of the ebb and flow of online marketing. And I got a little bit started late, so I don't want to get too off track on this particular slide. But that's kind of the context within which we want to talk about having a WordPress website. So we got to WordPress themes. Here we go. Why am I jumping all the way to 17? Am I mouse drunk up here or something like that? Sorry about that, folks. That's probably not a bad idea. Thank you, sir. There we go. So WordPress is obviously our tool of choice. And I've not always used WordPress. I started not writing code, but using developers who back in the early 2000s would write their own content management system. And then I switched to something called Text Pattern, which was kind of roughly on the same track of WordPress, a slightly different structure to how it works. It's also open source. It's more popular in Europe than it is here. And in about 2007, when WordPress really switched into second and third gear as far as a content management system, stopped using Text Pattern. So I've used different systems, and I like what's the best system, and right now the best system is absolutely WordPress. So it really is for just more than blogging. And here's some really interesting stats from about a month ago. So 7.7 million websites run on WordPress. That's a lot of websites. Just over half of the top 1 million, the busiest websites, just over half of them run on WordPress. And you can see the different types of sites that run them: CNN, TED, Rolling Stones. Even Google doesn't use Blogger. Google Ventures runs on WordPress, which is kind of funny. And one of the things that really sets WordPress apart from other content management systems is the fact that a company like Automatic is running WordPress.com, so managed hosting around WordPress. And and there are now a number of other very, very successful businesses that rely on WordPress. So the WordPress community, even though it's open source, even though nobody owns the license, there's an entire business community around WordPress that wants to see it get better and succeed. So, in a very selfish way, if you want to think about it like that, WordPress will get better because people have a financial interest in it. Yes, they're nice. Yes, they're generous. And yes, they're wonderful to organize things like this today, and all the speakers who came out and the volunteers to just donate their time. But there's a business community around WordPress that supports it and makes it better. So does anybody not understand the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org? Does anybody not understand it? Yeah, sure, absolutely. So the software itself is WordPress. And if you want to download the software and put it on your own server, or you want to set up a website with a host like some of our hosts today are GoDaddy and InMotion. There were some of our sponsors today. If you want to use them, then you would get your software from WordPress.org. So WordPress.org is the WordPress Foundation. It's where you get the software itself, and it's where you can download free themes and plugins. WordPress.com is the company run by Automatic that offers managed WordPress hosting with WordPress. So it's a more restricted environment because they're controlling access to it, but it's free to get on there. You can get a site.wordpress.com for free and be up and running in 4 or 5 minutes. And that's the difference. So WordPress.com is the for-profit company owned by Automatic that offers managed WordPress hosting, and WordPress.org is the foundation where you get the software and the tech support documents and the like. Make sense? Okay, so why do we want to use WordPress? I think one of the biggest things about it is it's very, very flexible. If you think about the different sites that I mentioned, Google Ventures and CNN and Rolling Stones, those are all very, very different types of organizations that have different web marketing needs. And that it all runs on the same content management system means it's quite flexible. You can get it to do what you want it to do in a relatively easy way. And it's also scalable. So if your business needs a 5-page brochure-style website to get started, and that's all you need, and you're going with it, go ahead. Okay. Right. Right. Okay. It does need more care, and with more care comes more functionality. Because, you know, if you want an update today, right now, because something urgent is happening with your business, you've got to email the design team or the development team. You got to catch them. You got to make sure that she can get to her computer and update that. Whereas if you've got a database-driven site, something off of WordPress, you can edit it from your phone. Yeah, it's the flexibility, it's the scalability, and it's the repetition of functionality. So if you want a new page on your static HTML site, you can pretty simply add it, but then you've got to go back into every other page and hand add a link to that page. So it's kind of the automation of it all. Yep, good question, good question. Go ahead.
I can't remember the name of it, I think it's read somewhere, but this is an issue because Google took it for speed as part of the ranking algorithm, and now you have to talk to a database and make it back. There's a lot of issues there. There's some company I saw that makes a service where you can take your database and make static pages out of it, just like you did in the past, and now you can just serve those static pages. And that doesn't change. Now,
Yep.
when you make some new content, okay, then you have to regenerate those pages. We only do it once, right?
So if I can interrupt you, I think that's a good point, but just for the purposes of getting through the presentation, I'm gonna keep rolling. Yeah, no, appreciate that. And so that's our next bullet point, is easy content management. With a well-built theme, all you need to do is add the content. You don't have to worry about how to style it. You don't have to worry about whether or not that should be bold. You don't have to worry about whether or not that headline should be blue or red or serif or sans serif. Your website does that for you. All you need to do is put in the bit of content, and your website will handle it. There's lots of great functionality. So the plugins that are available both for free on the WordPress repository, but even plugins where you have to pay $100 or $200. You know, if you're paying $200 for a plugin, you're getting thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of software development for $200 a year. Gravity Forms is a great plugin like that. It's a very, very powerful plugin. And while I won't get into the scope of what it can do, for a couple $100 a year, again, you're getting about $100,000 worth of software. So it's very flexible like that. So as you need more functionality in your website, you can add it in a very cost-effective way. And the last point about WordPress being very popular, you're not stuck with something that your cousin's neighbor's dog's best friend made for you. You're not in a position where nobody knows how to add content to your site. Nobody knows how to fix something. Nobody knows how to make it do what you want it to do. There's a whole business community around there. So that leaves you as the business owner and the website owner in control, because if you're not getting the business service that you want out of your designer or your developer, there are a host of other options available that are going to be cost effective for your business. So it really does put you as the owner in the driver's seat. So what can WordPress do? Again, this was This was geared towards nonprofits, but we talk about collecting donations for nonprofits, but we can do e-commerce, right? There's a presentation over in one of the other tracks about e-commerce. We can sell things, and we can sell anything, not just widgets or toy cars. We can take payments, right? We can do services. We can sell digital downloads. Whatever it is, you can sell it through your website with WordPress. You can use it to recruit people, right? You put up your job ads on there, and with a little bit of social media, thinking back to that graphic I showed earlier, is that you can use your website to recruit. You can certainly post staff bios and the like, which are a great way to let people know about who works for you and get emotional buy-in from your staff to support your web marketing efforts. You can have different people with different permissions run the website. So you can have your junior staff add content or maybe tweak content, and then they can queue it up for the senior staff to approve it and publish it. So there's a way to not have to do all the work yourself, but you still have control. Obviously, you're going to be able to write blog posts. You can add videos. It's very, very easy to do with one of the recent updates to WordPress. All you have to do is add the URL of your YouTube video, and it'll plunk it in automatically in an iframe. Very nice, very convenient, very, very easy, very fast. And you can even, with a plugin called BuddyPress, you can create your own social network behind a login. And now not a lot of businesses necessarily need that. Smaller businesses won't need it, but certainly bigger businesses use it for their own internal intranets, and schools use it a lot. So just running WordPress, you can have a private social network.
What was that called?
BBPress and BuddyPress are the two. BBPress is the forum, and BuddyPress is the social network, and they often get bundled together. And a lot of those, I mean, just thinking about that, with about an hour or two of training, you could set up your own private network running WordPress. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to be a designer. Now, it won't necessarily look exactly the way you want it to look, and it might not have the exact specific functionality to meet your individual business case, but in terms of having a private social network, you can have it done very, very quickly and without having much in the way of technical skill. Does that come through okay? Yeah, good. It's search engine friendly. Now, I know a lot of businesses, smaller businesses, oh, we don't have time to worry about SEO. And that might be the case, but it certainly can't hurt to have a system that if you decide you do want to have a search engine focus, you do want to try to draw traffic off a Google campaign, whatever that may take, WordPress as it comes right out of the box is hugely search engine friendly. You can create SEO-friendly URLs. You can edit the slugs. The slug are the post-domain words that make up the link. So you can add a keyword directly to it, even though you want the intro at the top of your page to be something welcoming and the like, but you can have, / my services or / accounting or / whatever your keyword is you can do that. There's a lot of SEO plugins. I'm a big fan of the Yoast plugin, WordPress SEO by Yoast. And there's even the sliders. People still debate whether or not they like sliders on their homepage, but they can be made in a very search engine friendly way. And all of this is just right out of the box. So it's you're not having to get a big budget to get rolling on all of this. So we jumped ahead to themes. So we've already talked about it a little bit. There's three basic types. I'll just cover this briefly here. Is there's free ones that are typically you would get those from the WordPress repository. That's a very safe place to get plugins. There's a team to get themes. It's also a good place to get plugins, but we'll talk about that in a bit. The WordPress repository does vet the theme, so they will be safe, they will be well made. It might not be exactly what you need or want, but in terms of buying something or getting something off the WordPress shelf, so to speak, the WordPress repository is very good for that. There are ways you can buy a theme, a ready packaged theme, and there's a little bit of caveat emptor there. There are some very good theme development houses, and there are some that are less reliable, and you need to make sure that you know what you're buying before you buy it. Things can look very nice on the front end, so the sample website that they let you look at, the demo website, looks great, but it might be very difficult to use on the back end depending how the theme was made. And we can certainly talk more about how to find a good theme after this presentation if you'd like. And then there's starter or custom themes, and that's what my company does. So we will build themes specifically for our clients. So here's our brand, here's what we roughly want our site to look like, and we'll work with them and design it and build it up. And as you can imagine, the free, premium, custom, I mean, that's the price structure too. Free is obviously free. Premium, probably prices start around 40, 50 bucks, and they'll go up to around a couple hundred. And starter theme, custom themes, if you're getting a custom theme job, it really kind of depends. It's like how much does a car cost? Well, what do you want the car to do? Forward, reverse, turn, stop on request is not going to cost as much as Ferrari performance. So it's difficult to say, but you're going to get into the thousands at the very least to get a custom theme. So we've gone through a number of these. At the bottom of this particular slide, you'll see I listed a couple of very reliable theme shops, iThemes and Woo Themes. Whatever you buy from them will be very safe and very well made. So plugins. Let's talk a little bit about plugins. Does everybody know what a plugin is? So the best thing about plugins is for WordPress is that there's just so darn many of them. And I don't think I've ever run into a situation where the plugin didn't get me pretty darn close to where I needed to go from a functionality standpoint. Again, everybody's business case, business use is going to be a little bit different. And so it may or may not be 100% what we want, but that it's available for free, and that it can be installed with very little, well, no technical knowledge. It's just walking yourself through the process. It's very easy, is fantastic. It's going back to that scalability and flexibility of WordPress. So I've listed a couple of different items here that plugins can address. You can have one help you with your SEO. You can use plugins that expand your user permission level. So if you do want different people managing and editing your site, you can have an events calendar with all sorts of different functionality. In fact, there's one of our sponsors is Event Espresso. They're here today, so if you're thinking about getting an event plugin, you might want to have a chat with them. Digital downloads, so even if you're just giving away white papers to show your professional expertise, there's some really nice plugins that can help you manage that. You can run a membership site, so if you're doing online training, you want people to log in to see your videos or to get your white papers or whatever the case may be, you can do that all with WordPress plugins that are either free or very, very reasonably priced. Just like themes, not all plugins are created equally. Some plugins are downright scary, but others are really, really fantastic. And there's kind of a couple of different considerations when thinking about plugins, and one is, does it functionally do what we want it to do? And then the other is how easy on the back end, when we log in and try to use the plugin in the way that it's meant to be used, how easy is that? And there's a lot of plugins that will do the job, but the plugin itself is difficult to use. So you have to be a little bit careful when you're considering that. And one thing to keep in mind with plugins is often different plugins will afford you overlapping functionality, and sometimes they don't play nicely with each other. So one plugin wants to do the same thing that the other plugin is doing, and because they're butting heads against each other, nobody gets the job done. So you just have to be a little bit careful when you're adding plugins to your site to make sure that they are going to play nicely. Go ahead.
What's a solid plugin?
Just a good one, a reliable one. Yep. And my rule of thumb for plugins are, I don't want to say don't use them, but there are a lot of plugins that do add functionality to your WordPress installation that a developer can do in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that. They just do a little bit of functionality. They change something or tweak something. And if you add a plugin, well, it's not necessarily wrong to add that plugin to do that. It's one more thing that you have to update, and it's one more potential security issue. So again, don't not use plugins, but it might be more cost effective in the long run to pay your developer for 15 to 20 minutes of time. It's certainly worth the email. Hey, I want to add this functionality. Is that a big ask? No, just send it over. We'll get it done. Or yeah, actually it is. You probably should go get a plugin to do that instead. So just be aware that there are not every bit of code that we need to add to a WordPress theme is going to take a lot of work. Some of it can be very quick, very simple. And kind of like with most things in life, it's the simple things always seem to take a lot of time, and it seems like this is really complicated. Oh, no, that's easy. We can get that done quickly. That other simple thing, that's really complicated. We can't do that. So just a couple of more than a couple, a handful of plugins that I like. And these are all online, by the way. Sorry, I should have mentioned it. Slideshare.net/Liam Dempsey. You'll see these. Liam Dempsey is LiamDempsey. Slideshare.net/
Did you say slide chair?
Share. Yeah, not Slide Shark, different. Sorry about that. This was just a shirt that went in the bag this weekend, just coincidental. So SEO, there's a couple, go ahead.
I was going to just ask you to repeat the URL.
Oh, so sure. So it's slideshare.net/ my name, Liam Dempsey, LiamDempsey. Thank you. So I'm a big fan of the Yoast SEO plugin. Gravity Forms. Who uses Gravity Forms? Yeah. It's absolutely awesome. It is, at its most basic level, a contact form, but it can be used for everything from creating content, having your users generate posts that goes onto your blog. It can be used for e-commerce. It can, the list of functionality is endless, and it's very, very powerful. It is not free. It will cost you, I think, $30 or $40 for an individual website, $200 for a developer license, which allows you to put it on any website you want. So it's very, 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 very worthwhile. Go ahead.
In the contact form, does it also say names that you can use?
Yes, yeah, so it'll push it all into a database. You can have an add-on to that plugin and push them to MailChimp or Constant Contact.
So you have to have MailChimp or Constant Contact. It doesn't have the functionality of MailChimp or Constant.
Correct, it is not an email marketing system. It is just a form. I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but it can do things like where you can utilize conditionals. So if somebody submits something A, that goes to you. But if somebody uses the same for and submits something B, that comes to me. So, it's really tailorable like that. It's very customizable like that. All within a very simple and easy way. And because of the way that it's built, if you want to customize it even more, you will have to get a developer involved. But it's easy for that developer to do because it's well built. Sliders, do people like sliders on the home page? Yes? No? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on it. Been trying things with tabs instead. But anyway, there's a great slider program called Soliloquy. And that's how you spell soliloquy. I didn't know until that plugin came out. For digital downloads, so maybe giving away white papers, or if you've got a band and you're selling some music, digital downloads, easy digital downloads is a good one. Again, going back to Gravity Forms, you can tell I like it. Donations can also be e-commerce. Take money through that. Well, it's the same kind of thing, right? You just have the fields, and then it just pushes things to PayPal. So there's an add-on. Yep.
Yeah. Is it just PayPal or is it?
No, all sorts. You can use Stripe and all. If you check out, just go to gravityforms.com. It's actually a well-built site, and there's a lot of the add-ons is what you want to look at in terms of further customizations. Is anybody a podcaster in here? Put out their own podcasts? Okay. Do you use Blueberry? Do you use something different? All right. Yeah, absolutely it is. It's great for posting online and managing them. Memberships, paid memberships Pro and S2 are good ones. One thing to keep in mind for memberships that I'm not sure if the Paid Memberships Pro ever addressed this is, depending on how the plugin works, you can run into a situation where you have a member who is a member of one group, and they're not always easy to add them to another group because of the way that the plugin is structured. So if you're running a 6-month class for online training and you've got Tom Smith signs up for that, then he also wants to go to the other one as well. Depending on the plugin concerns, on the way it's structured, you sometimes have to make people sign up for another account, which obviously is not ideal. So you might want to look into that. If that's part of what you're trying to achieve, Just be aware of that with membership plugins. And then I've got something here called Advanced Custom Fields, and it is a way to add meta content, meta boxes to your WordPress site. So if you think about WordPress, right? WordPress has pages and posts, right? Everybody with me? And on any page or post, yeah, you've got the featured image and the publication stuff, but you think you've got the title and then just the body, right? And sometimes there's an excerpt. And you might want to add additional fields to that, thinking about like a staff bio, right? You might want to have a specific field so who's ever managing the content knows, oh yeah, I got to put the phone number in, I got to add the email address. So WordPress right out of the box won't do that for you. But there's plugins, and one in particular, Advanced Custom Fields, that will very easily, with a graphic interface, graphic user interface, will enable you to do that. So you can start to add specific fields and set rules for it. So if the page uses this template, add these fields. So if the About page if it's the About page and it uses the About page template, make sure we have these fields at the bottom that display, our contact details or something like that. Does it make sense? So Advanced Custom Fields, though, it's a two-step process. The plugin will help you get your content into the database, get you into your WordPress site, but then you do need to use a bit of code to enable your WordPress theme to pull that content from the database to the browser at the front end. So and within the admin side, you can type in the phone number, but you have to use some code on your theme to get that phone number to display at the front end of your site, so when people are coming to see, if you're using a custom field for phone numbers. So it is a two-step process, but using the Advanced Custom Field plugin saves you a lot of time by not having to type up that functionality, type in that, add additional meta content by hand. That make sense? Did that go over? Was that good? All right, great. How am I doing for time here? Custom post types? So custom post types, another way to think of them is just custom content type. You can create a content type within WordPress for anything. So if you're letting apartments and you want to have properties as a custom post type, a custom content type, you can create that. And you can then set the fields. So we need the address, we need the monthly rent, we need the dimensions, the number of bathrooms, whatever it may be. Same thing maybe for a staff bio. We want to have their name, their job title, their location. We might be doing a beer review site. So we want a picture of the beer, the name of the beer, the brewer, the alcohol, where you can buy it, whatever you want. So within WordPress, you can create these custom content types. So it really gives you the flexibility of not just having to put everything on a page and then trying to add that in the main content body. You can really customize it both from a content management and from a design perspective.
Excuse me, is this only if you install that plugin on the previous page, or is this the standard out of the box with WordPress?
It is not standard out of the box, but yes, there are plugins that can help with that. But it's also not that difficult of a development task. It is a development task, but it's not building the car from scratch. It's a few hours to kind of get it going. So you don't want to do them willy-nilly, but if it's a good use for the business, then you can get it, and once it's there, you can use it any way that you want.